Good morning, Kenny. I thought I would take some time and do a video voiceover review of your gameplay. I found this on Reddit and you asked for feedback, so that's what I'm going to give you. I tend to cover a lot of ground in my voiceover reviews, so if you want to pause the video right here, go get a pencil and paper and then come back and restart it and take notes along the way, and then maybe throw in a timestamp about where you took the notes so you can go back and reference the video comment relative to your notes at some point. That's never a bad idea. So anyway, let's get started. All right, here we go. Very first point of the first game that we posted, the guy across the net serving at you. Here we go. So my first comment is on this backhand. So it was nice and deep. I felt like it was probably a little bit high and floaty, more so than you wanted, but the reason, I think, is because of your follow through. So it stopped a little bit short. I think the longer that we can keep that paddle going in the direction of the ball, of where we want that ball to go, the better our targeting would be, and to keep that paddle kind of chasing the ball as it goes away. So if you wanted that ball to go here down the middle, which is where it went, you would keep that paddle after contact chasing that ball as long as you could, and then the paddle would swing off and away. So it looked like it stopped a little bit short, like you put the brakes on that shot a little bit, and anytime that happens, I don't think it's really a good thing. We should follow through and keep the paddle chasing that ball as it goes away for as long as we can. We go on a little bit later in the point. So first, good effort getting up to the kitchen line. You gave yourself a lot of time because that ball was so deep, so good on you. So my biggest comment here in general, because I watched this game and maybe some of the other two games weren't really that competitive, I don't think. So my overall strategy or comment feedback for you is this ready position here, and you can see how vertical you are and how close your feet are together. Your knees aren't completely locked out, but almost. So even though the ball came to your son, you're not in a good ready position in a couple ways. So better ready position here with the feet further apart. I would prefer that the knees were bent more. So this does a couple things. One is if you want to go laterally and push off, right? If this knees are almost locked out, and I'm using your son as an example here, then it's difficult to push off and go in either direction because there's no push left here. The knees are almost locked out. So that's a limiting factor moving laterally. And the other thing is the lower we can get means our eyes are down closer to this net and we can see the ball better. We can see the top of the net and we can look that ball into our paddle. Being this vertical, then we have to triangulate where that paddle is in the ball. And yes, you can do it. We just can't really look the ball into our paddle. And I think in general, the shots are going to be better and easier, more accurate if we can look that ball all the way into the paddle because the paddle's out in front of us and we're squatted down. So I know this is an extreme example of your ready position, but I think in general it's still too vertical, and I think this is a little bit too vertical. So if the knees were more bent and not leaned forward but squatted down with our spine still vertical, that would be better. So let's look at the rest of this point. So a little bit better here. You pulled your feet apart, but again, as per my earlier comments, still too vertical. Feet slightly further apart and knees bent more. You can tell then that would get your eyes down closer to the top of the net, especially against people who tend to hit hard. I encourage people to get their eyes as low to the top of the net as they can be because we can just see that ball into the paddle much better. So this, I think, is probably not optimum. You'd serve yourself a lot better if you'd get lower. Now, the caveat to that is it's obviously more physically demanding. We'll be putting more stress on our thighs and our glutes when we do that. The upside is the more we do that, the stronger we get and the longer that we can do it. So this, again, is still too vertical, in my opinion. So a couple of good shots here. So you can tell that when the ball comes to your son, you just totally relax. You're not in the point anymore. And so what happens then is you get caught off guard like there because you've been in this relaxed, ready position so much that it's difficult to know when to get out of that and get prepared. And then when you have to get out and get prepared, you have this movement you have to do to get your feet apart and get that low, and that all takes time, and sometimes you don't have time. And I think this was a good example. So if we looked at this from the beginning, and you paid attention to your ready position and how vertical you are, I think hopefully you can see that you're too vertical a lot. So still too vertical there. So you can tell the ball's coming to your son and you're just totally relaxed. You're not ready, right? So you're not burning those calories. You're not building up that muscle strength that you need long term to be able to react to these balls better. So let's go a little further. Still far too relaxed. It's just you're not ready here at all, and then you get caught off guard, and I think you pay the price for that. Now you can say, yeah, my son gave him a high ball, which is true, but then you weren't ready for those chances that you don't expect, and those things happen. The last thing I'll mention about the ready position is I feel like you don't hold your paddle out far enough in front. It's too close to your chest, almost like there used to be this old thing about you had chest armor and your paddle was there kind of guarding your chest. So if I look at this guy across the net from you in this ready position where its paddle's out in front, but the arms are bent, so not fully extended, but reaching with both hands out in front, and I think that both hands matter because it allows us on average to rotate our shoulders into more shots because we have both hands out in front. So no left hand, no non-paddle hand here on the paddle at all, and your paddle position tends to be too lazy, I would say, and I don't say that in a derogatory perspective. It's not out where it needs to be, and I think this is a much better ready position. So if I looked at this guy, ball's obviously coming at him, but this guy's even more ready than you are. Feet are farther apart, knees are bent, paddle's out in front. I don't like that the left hand's not on it, but it is what it is. So I think the paddle position for you could be more like this guy over here, straight across the net from you, and you'd be able to react faster both to the forehand and the backhand. All right, very next point, let's take a look. First thing I will say is I think you can do much better on the serve. So not hard enough, not defensive or assertive enough, and it lands far too short. So we essentially give our opponents a ball that they can handle relatively easily, and since it's short enough, we start pulling them up to the kitchen line. So we're enabling them with that return of serve from them to get up. We're giving them a free pass to get up to the kitchen line, never something that we really want to do. I think you're quick enough and probably strong enough to serve more assertively than that, and not with the intention of trying to hit winners or aces, although aces are rare, but winners are nice, but to make life a little bit difficult on these guys over here. As I watch you serve, I get the impression you're just trying to start the point. You don't want to accept any risk, and so I don't think that helps you guys, right? I think of pickleball in terms of who has control, and if my opponents have it, can I wrestle control of the ball away from them? Or if I have control, I don't want to give up control. When you're serving, you are holding the ball, you physically have control of that ball until you give it up. And I feel like if you think of it in those terms, you just gave control of the point to this guy. And then you and your son have to wrestle that back. Right? I have to go get that control back because I intentionally gave it up. Now, it's one thing to give it up unintentionally. You're like, I didn't mean to do that, or that was a bad shot. That's something totally different. But you intentionally give up control with the serve like that because we did not distress our opponent at all. Now, one thing you can do, and I'm a big proponent of that, is try to serve from corner to corner. And the rationale for this is court's 44 feet right down the middle. You're not exactly down the middle, but you're not far off of it. 48.25 feet from corner to corner, meaning that you could hit the same ball, hit it harder, and have 4.25 more feet for that ball to land in and not go out in deep. And we want to keep them deep. So our brain goes, this court's longer, so if you imagined it was 100 yards long, you could hit that ball as hard as you want and be confident that ball's not going long. If you were over in the corner, serving corner to corner, and one of these corners is somebody's backhand, then you've got an extra 4 feet. I tend to stand a couple feet back if I have room in the facility, meaning that if I'm 2 feet back, then that court is 6.25 feet from corner to corner. So mentally, it allows me to try and swing harder and hit that ball harder, be more assertive with it, put more pressure on the person across the net. And so I feel like if you were further out here, serving from corner to corner, and again, if they're both righties, then serving from this corner on the left side to that corner, somebody's backhand or somewhere up the sideline, that serve would be more assertive and you would give up control less often. All right, same point here, you're serving. Just wanted to look at your two-handed backhand here. Okay, nice assertive swing here. Let's look at the swing again. And with the two-handed backhand, I understand people want to get more power with that two-handed backhand, but it's a very compact art going around. So to get the ball to go on the trajectory we want, a little bit more difficult. You can do it. I think you did it there. My bigger question is, when you were right here hitting this ball, where was your target across the net? So people generally have two targets. One is a certain height above the net, and the second one is a particular spot on the court on the other side, or somebody's forehand, somebody's backhand, but still having a spot over here on the court. I got the impression that your target was trying to keep this ball, and your target was some height over this net. And to me, that's a little bit, if that was what you were doing, I think a better solution is to pick a spot over here on the court, like here, or back here in the baseline, or down this line. And if I'm hitting toward a spot on the court, I'm more thinking about what does it take to get that ball to land in that spot, rather than I'm trying to hit a certain height over this net, but I'm not really as focused on the same mechanics that I would use to get the ball to land back here. And I felt like you were driving this ball, trying to keep it low over the net, rather than trying to hit a certain spot on the court on the other side. Hope that makes sense, but I'm always a bigger proponent of, once this ball is coming at me and the people are over here and I decide where I want to hit it, I'm focused on the mechanics to put that ball in a particular spot on the court, not on a particular height across that net. And in general, I think as we drill, right, and we're drilling, say you're rallying in a practice drill, you're focused on hitting these balls deep and trying to put the ball at a certain spot across the net. You're not really focused on trying to keep the ball low over the net. What do I have to do? What's it feeling like for me to hit this spot deep on the court, down the center, or back here in the corner, and less focused on this height over the net? So at some point then the net goes away. We don't think about the net anymore. We're trying to hit this spot, and if I do my mechanics the way that I know that shot works, then the net really doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, wanted to take a moment and maybe think about what your target was here, and we should always have a target when we hit. I feel like you probably do, but I'm just questioning whether you were trying to get this low over the net or whether you were trying to hit a certain spot on the court. All right, a little bit down the road, this guy's serving to you. Almost identical return from you, this one-handed backhand where the paddle does not chase a ball toward the target, and we get a little bit floaty here. That happens, I agree. I guess my one question was, why one-handed on these return of serves when I think you were hitting primarily two-handed backhands for the rest of the point? Let's take a look. So you can tell this paddle goes and hits this ball and stops. Now the problem that I didn't mention earlier with this is, if we're trying to stop the paddle short, that means we're purposefully decelerating as we're swinging forward, and there's a tendency to sometimes start decelerating before the paddle even gets to the ball, or after we get to the ball. So now we have to time our deceleration of the paddle along with everything else that we have to time. If we swing through this ball and we imagine I'm hitting through the center of the ball, think of the ball as the earth, my paddle swing mentally, I'm thinking about swinging all the way through the center of the ball, and it's my mechanics that keep that ball in play or out of play, then ideally we're thinking about swinging all the way through that ball. So not sure why these two have been one-handed when I think a lot of the other drives you've had off the backhand side were two-handed. Try and swing all the way through that ball. Try and have a bigger follow-through, not for the sake of anything other than we can control the ball better and we're not picking different deceleration points to get that paddle to stop shorter. All right, here we go. Other guy serving across the net. One more time. So again, I think here you were just too vertical. You can say, well, I was where I wanted to be. I think the paddle's not out in front enough and your eyes are not low enough. And as a result, it looks like the tip of this paddle, the top of the paddle is leaned back. You get too much lift. And if you're blocking these, that's one thing, but you could do so with the paddle further out in front. And I think that is what causes that to float. I think the ready position there, you're just too vertical. And try not to come up off that floor. Right? So if you're squatted down a little bit more, it's almost like the ball's high. It's higher relative to our head, so it's not an overhead, but it's like a high backhand. And so because you were so vertical, you had to lift up off the floor to get that same swing. So not a bad ready position, but you can tell. So here the paddle is so low, and up on this net needs to be a little bit higher and out in front. And since you're keeping this paddle low, to have the swing from here, you feel like you have to lift up off this court. Once we start lifting up, now we lose a little bit of focus on the ball because our head's moving. The more stationary we can keep our head, the better. Envision if you had stayed here and had your head completely still and just swung at the ball, because you didn't have to go laterally left or right, and you really didn't have to go vertically either. That would have kept your head more stationary. You'd have been able to focus on the ball better, and I think the shot could have been better. All right, here we go. I want to take a look at your serve again. So positionally, really good serve to the backhand, but again, it was deep with not enough power on it. So we made life a little bit difficult on our opponent just from that backhand. We can tell by the time that you're swinging, you've essentially given him more of a free pass to get up to the kitchen line. He's put the ball on your backhand side. So I think if your serve had been harder and deeper, puts more stress on him, and I feel like you just gave away some control.
0-1
with this serve. He just gave you a slow ball coming back to you, which allowed him more time to get up to that kitchen line. All right, this guy has just served. Here's a ball coming at your partner. Here we go. So a couple of comments here. One, I feel like you probably thought that ball was going out and you relaxed a little bit, but the bigger thing I wanted to talk about, this ball coming between your feet, and that's what caused you to pop that ball up. I think you relaxed because I thought the ball was going out myself. But the bigger thing was just stay in the point, obviously. Easier said, Monday morning quarterback. But not to let that ball land between your feet. And the reason I bring this up is because I think this happens a little bit later as well. So I think this pop-up got you guys in trouble. And this guy over here just blew the shot. All right, this guy's serving. Here's a ball coming at you.
No. Oh, I pulled.
All right, back. So I think, again, just the fact that your paddle was so low and your reaction time to get it there was so hurried that you couldn't get it out of the way in time. And again, if you'd been a little bit lower, this ball seems a little bit higher, and you would have had a chance to even put a better paddle on it. Look at that again. So I think you're just up too high. Like, you never get low here at the net, and we are starting to figure out these guys across the net hit pretty hard. And so we have to react quicker, so the more that we can get low, the better. All right, here we go. All right, one more time. So right here, I think your goal is this guy's feet are exposed, and this guy's feet are exposed. In general, any ball you get wants to go in one direction easier than redirecting and going someplace else. So I'm not questioning about who you hit this ball at. My thought is this landed way too shallow, and when that happens, it just pops up and gives them a swing at the ball, which is what happened here. And I don't know if this had gone through your head, but get better at hitting these balls deep, and that will make life difficult on them, and that will give us another pop-up. So we can tell this ball landed about here, so halfway between you two, which resulted in it bouncing up about waist high. So that's kind of the best that he could hope for to get out of that situation. So to get that ball to land deeper, we need to wait a little bit longer. I have a video series on how to control the depth of that ball as we're hitting those and power through that. So hopefully you understood that that ball was just way too short, and that was a problem. So right here, I feel like this point should be over, and I felt like you went left instead of down, right? So if we go down, you can see that your arm here is not fully extended, almost, but not fully. If you'd been a little bit lower, you could have swung a little bit harder and made life more difficult. So more about putting the ball at the feet, and in my opinion, just way too short on that overhead, and that matters a ton. All right, here we go. This serve, I think it was better. I felt like it stayed lower and had a little bit more speed and went to this guy's backhand. So all of those things are positive. The thing about having this ball go over this net lower, one, we can hit it harder. Second thing is when it bounces, it's going to stay lower than a ball that goes over the net higher and bounces. It's just going to bounce up higher. So we want them hitting up a little bit as much as we can, force them back, and then hit to their backhand. So I think he did a pretty good job here. So let's take a look at this serve. So you kept him down. You kept him down low, hitting that ball. Let's go. And a pretty good rip on that two-handed backhand. So going at the closer person with a faster swing. Good job there. So I thought that point was better. He didn't really give up control with that serve.
1-2.
I just think the serve could be faster, miles per hour wise, just more assertive. All right, let's take a look at this point, and I'll come back and comment on it.
Come on, good shot.
All right, one more time.
2-2-2.
All right, so going back to the philosophy of who has control, if they have control, can we wrestle control back from them? You have control of the ball. And I think you can just see how casual that serve was. Like you weren't trying to be assertive at all or put this guy across the net on the defense too much. You give him just an easy ball. He loops this back in deep. And so you can see the difference here between he's already at the net and you haven't hit the ball yet. So you gave him that opportunity to get here. Now you guys are no longer in control. Hope you agree with that. Plus you've got a deep ball that you've had to back up with and hit this two-handed with. So all of those things are more difficult. And I think you put yourself in this position just because of that serve, right? It just wasn't assertive enough. And so now you guys are going to spend most of the point trying to wrestle control back from your initial giving up control. Here we go. So not a bad drive. Now I think you guys would still be in trouble, but he gave up a little bit by hitting this return a little bit short. Gives you guys a little bit of a breather, so he gives you your partner an opportunity to hit a really good drop shot there and get you guys up the kitchen. Had he hit a better fourth shot, you guys are still back on the baseline. Let's look at that again, right? So that was, so we're here, you're in trouble. This guy let you off the hook because he did not put this ball deep. Otherwise, you're still in trouble. And as you play better and better teams, you guys are still in trouble. You don't get to get up to the kitchen line because he doesn't give you a ball that's this short that can be dropped into the kitchen across the net as easily. So he let you off the hook. So we play out the rest of the point. So much better patience there. A couple points ago, your partner tried to drive the second ball, and so he stayed more patient here, stayed in the point. So good stuff there.
Come on, good shot.
And at some points, somebody's just, so you got cheated by that let cord there a little bit, but that happens. All right, here we go. Here's the ball coming at you from the serve. Take a look.
I got it. Oh, I had you.
All right, two more. Look at this again. So right here, you're little bit late, but actually not bad. I think the problem is you come up off the court. So you can tell how you lift it up here. And so our energy is going up instead of going into the ball. Our eyes are going up, so we're losing focus. And as we lift, the relationship between our paddle and the ball changes because the paddle's got to come up with us. We've got to keep hold of it. So I think if you would not come up off the floor, that would be a good thing.
I got it.
So the same thing happens here as you come up off the floor. Now you try to hit this heavy top spin, two-handed backhand. I don't disagree with. I think the problem was when you came up off the floor, you lost energy going the other way. We can't stay planted and push forward, and this ball ends up going short. And since it's got that top spin, it kicks up for him. Let's see. So you can tell how you came up off the floor instead of staying firmly rooted, where our feet are now helping us propel this ball in the other direction. Your son tried to poach, missed it, but that happens. Let's look at that again. So in real time, watch yourself come up off the court twice in this point. There was one.
I got it.
And there was two. So you should be able to tell in this backhand how much energy you lost in that swing.
I got it.
So going up, you could see yourself go up instead of forward, where you want that ball to go. And we always want to, unless we're up on the kitchen line, obviously we can't step in on volleys, but we want our energy going across the net toward our opponents, not up as you did there. And that just took away some power. I think if he stayed planted, you could have put that ball right on top of those pink shoes over there, and he would have been in more trouble. All right, here we go. Here's the ball. We're in the middle of the point. All right, so I stopped here because this is the second shot of these he's made. This is almost identical to the previous one that went in the net. You said, I think we needed to play that ball a little bit slower. I appreciate it hearing your comments as you were talking to your partner. So he was out here wide, exact same shot he dumped into the net, which tells me not that it's a bad shot, but that he needs to drill that more. And maybe a couple things is his targeting is not as good. So we missed two in a row. So we didn't correct from the previous one. And I don't know that he understands why that ball now has gone into the net twice in a row. Yeah, that happens, but it was almost the exact same shot. And so I think if some drilling, then that goes away, and he either takes some pace off or gets a little bit more lift on the ball. So in general, he was trying to do too much with that ball, and ideally he could have just put it back right here. So the choice is this guy's back. I think a better shot is to keep him back and try and put this ball on her shoes. And it looks like he was trying to do too much, keep it too low, too much of an angle. And it just wasn't necessary because this wasn't really a ball that would be easy to put away. Right. And so I think maybe drilling helps that issue go away. All right, here we go. You guys have just finished your timeout. You talked about playing slower and playing defense. I don't really like playing defense. I'd rather play offense, but different point here. So let's take a look at this point really quick. So right here, you tell him.
Oh, come on. You got it.
So your feedback to him, I'm going to be a little bit critical here, so ignore this if you want to. I don't think your feedback helped because you didn't tell him what he did wrong. Let's look at that again. So.
Oh, come on. You got it.
So saying you got it doesn't help him fix that for the next time, and we need to understand why this happened. So right here, primarily, when this happens is people get excited, swing too early, and that pushes the ball down into the net. And if I'd been in your position right there, I said, okay, you were a little bit early, just relax, breathe, exhale as you're swinging on these. Wait a little bit longer, and that ball will go over. And then the other question I would have for him would be the same question I asked you earlier is, when you were swinging at this ball, where was your target? So if his target were these shoes over here, maybe that's too assertive of a target. Maybe he goes for the knees or the mid-thigh, and mentally then, subconsciously then, the brain knows how to adjust the flight of that ball, which is hit it a little bit later so that this ball goes deeper on the court. So
2-5.
Let's look at that again.
Yours.
And I tell people that once the ball leaves my opponent's paddle, it belongs to me. Like there's nothing they can do to make that ball more difficult for me to hit. So it belongs to me, and I might as well take my time and hit it on my terms as best I can. And with the understanding that as we get into play, especially competitive play, our adrenaline goes up, we get excited, we feel like we need to do things faster. If we'll be more relaxed and take our time more because that ball's coming on its own terms and my partner cannot make it worse on me, I might as well relax a little bit, take my time and swing, and then exhale as I'm doing that. That will help us swing better. So I think, and I'm sorry if this is too critical, your feedback to him would be, we're good, just relax, breathe while you're doing that, take your time, and then things will go better. I think in the timeout, the first thing he said was, he expressed frustration, like everything, I can't hit a ball inbounds, and I've been there and I know how frustrating that is. And so I think my job then when my partner says that is to go, no, it's not that bad. Just relax a little bit and we are fine. We're not really out of this. So if you'll relax more, breathe, we'll do much better. You'll do much better. And I think, again, this was a symptom of he's frustrated and he wanted to hurry and put this point away, which didn't do him any good. Actually did him just the opposite, got him to hit this into the net. And if he would take a little bit longer, and maybe again going back to drilling, you'd be over here in no man's land or back on the baseline feeding him high balls so that muscle memory kicks in and he's able to keep putting those balls deep or keep putting those balls down at your feet. All right, here we go. Let's take a look real quick. So you've done this a couple times where you, two things, either thought they were going to drop it short, so you charged the kitchen line, good stuff, or you felt like you could get there and cut this ball off, again, good stuff. So this, I think you're quick, athletic, you anticipate pretty well. If I was younger, I probably would have done some of the same things you did. Again, you're here, you're up, right? And so there's not good. I would say it was good if you doubled the miles per hour on your stroke, like you just murdered this ball. Otherwise, this is not helping a lot. So you get a net cord here, it looked like, and this ball. Now my biggest thing here was, again, people tend to take these balls too casually when they could do something more assertive with this ball. I felt like if you'd gotten down on your knee and kind of scorpioned this a little bit more, the guy wouldn't even put a paddle on it. So while it was a decent shot and he couldn't handle it, I felt like you were a little too casual on those. And that's a tendency. I like that you moved in early to get there, but it looks to me like you're still leaning forward. And when people hit these, in general, they have a ton of backspin, meaning it's going to hit that floor and stop or go back over the net. Not even going to get to us. So I felt like you were too casual. And again, the better we get, the more picky the comments, because to tweak out percent improvements is just difficult to do. So I'm a little bit picky on some of these because you're a good player. So I have to, my comments are about smaller adjustments because there aren't a ton of huge adjustments left to be made. So I felt like right there you were just way too casual, and there are times in a game, future games down the road, where that's not going to be good enough. This guy almost got this ball back, and had it come over, you were in trouble, right? You were still trying to get out of the kitchen, and we gave him a reasonable shot to get that ball back over the net. I think you would have been way better when you hit that ball to get down on your knee and maybe try and scorpion that back or put it just out of their reach. And to me, it was a little bit casual. All right, here we go. Ball's here somewhere, and this guy's just about to hit it to your backhand cross court. Here we go. All right here. So my rule of thumb is I get pulled wide. The first thing I'm keying off of is where's this guy directly across the court from me. Did they go wide to cover this line, or did they leave the line open? Here, I think this line is open. So one, this is a tougher shot for you. Backhand's generally more tough to hit than a forehand. So had the same situation happened over here with your forehand, it would have been his backhand. A little bit easier shot to hit. Having said all that, though, I feel like right here, one, he's out of position, and two, he's too far off this line, right? And so you're in a little bit of a difficult situation here, but my first clue is I'm looking what happened here. What's this guy doing? Did this slide over to cover the line, and did his partner go with him to cover the middle? And neither of those things happened here. So to me, shot selection wise, I would have gone down the line. That's where I'm always looking first. Guy slides over, then I'm looking mid-court to this guy, or down the middle. So right here, I felt that line was open. Now you can see that you gave it right to his forehand. And that's the other thing over here is, well, if we don't hit this ball well, it goes to his forehand. You got lucky. He bailed you out by trying to do too much with that shot. So we get pulled wide. Pulled wide. My first look is, what's going on here? Is there a big enough hole for me to squeeze these balls in? And I drill this with the ball machine a lot. This ball, and I'll set the ball machine up here. Ball comes out wide. I have a little dummy guy I'll set up here, and I just practice going down this line, and that helps our targeting as well, because if we can hit the ball on the straight line to where we want it to go, that's useful anywhere on the court. I felt like down the line was better. I bring this up because I think you did this at another point in this game as well. All right, here we go. Really good ball, short in front of this guy. Gets him to kind of pop that ball up, not bad.
No.
Okay, so if we can diagnose things well about what happened, then we have a chance to fix that real time in the current game. If we're not sure what happened, then we have little to no chance to be able to fix them. Again, to me, the problem here is this paddle's down in ready position. I mean, they're not off of that ball. He's never going to be able to put this ball down at your knees or your feet. So there's no reason to have this paddle down this low. And what happens is you've got so far to go now to get this paddle up on this high ball. So let's think about the opposite, where you've got the paddle out in front, kind of chest high, two hands on the paddle. You literally would have half the distance to go to get your paddle from a higher ready position out in front to this ball. So you're making life difficult on yourself. This ready position is not bad as far as the knees and the feet, and the athletic stance, the spine's pretty straight up. I think you could have been down a little bit more, but to me, the problem here is you were late getting your paddle there. The reason you were late getting your paddle there was your paddle was way too low here.
No.
And you just couldn't get it up there in time.
I love out balls.
So I don't think that ball was going out.
No. I love out balls.
So, in my opinion, that was because your ready position wasn't good enough. And I think if you don't fix that, then you continue to have some of those issues. All right, here we go. We're kind of midpoint.
High. My gosh.
Okay, yes, high, but why? So if we can diagnose why, then we have a chance to fix that. So let me tell you why I think it was high, and then you can agree or disagree. So two reasons. One is you're moving backwards. We're moving backwards, hitting bad things happen generally either one, it goes in the net, or two, it goes high, because our body from our feet to our head, we're leaned backwards. So as we're doing our normal swing, then what happens is we're reaching too far forward and getting way more lift on that than we would otherwise get if we were standing vertical. So I think the biggest problem was you were backing up, and then two, just a little bit vertical. And so that's why that ball went high. So you were leaning backwards, maybe overhit that a little bit, but the reason it went high was I think you were leaning backwards because you didn't get back quick enough and you didn't stay down, and you guys just never recovered the rest of the point. All right, I think that's probably enough. Hope you found some of that helpful. Enjoyed watching you guys' games. Take care.